Oh yeah. So again, I'm signing, and this will be mainly based in Ableton, but who here uses Ableton? Perfect. I mean, this stuff will apply to any other like DAW, but it works best for Ableton. When a lot of people talk about how they make their sounds, a lot of artists will say that they resampled it, or like, they resampled something a lot of times over until they got their sound. And there's not really a lot of info about just like strict resampling. So what I'm going to be demonstrating is how you could go about resampling. And I have right now an operator, Ableton, just like, stock instrument. I'm going to map some stuff to a macro knob, and then we're going to just automate this long audio file, or this long MIDI clip, and then just get kind of crazy with it, bounce it down, and just show you guys what you can do with it. So let's get started. Sick. So we're just going to start. We'll map that to that. There we go. Okay. We will come back, make this song. Nice and screechy. Don't you love it? Okay, so we got something kind of cool. We will go ahead, bounce this down, or set it down to an audio file, record enable, then yeah, just record this shit. Okay, so we got enough to work with here. Now, we come down to this nifty little audio track that we've made. And there's a lot of ways that you can warp audio in Ableton. You have beats, tones, texture, repitch, complex, complex pro. Beats usually deals with, it's best for drums, but it's also fun for just kind of fucking around with shit. Transient mode for this, it'll find the transient in the audio file and try to kind of. You can either accentuate it, or you can, get crazy with it. If you have it on this mode, it'll take the transient and like kind of loop it. And this one, it'll take the transient and go back and forth between it. So it's kind of like a, grain thingy. Tones deals with grain, texture, also grain, but more like in-depth. For this, we're actually going to use texture. The fun thing about this is that when you're dealing with audio and the texture mode, you can get some really crazy artifacts with it. So like say if we take this, move it all the way up to 99 or 999 BPM, it'll stretch out the audio file super long. And with that, and you can get crazy shit with it. We can automate that grain size. And the way that automating grain size in this works is that you have 100% to 0%, and that goes from whatever grain size that you've set it to. So like say if you have it set to here, this will be 100% on this. So we're gonna set it pretty low so we can get some weird shit with it. Maybe pitch it down, see what you get. We're gonna take this, kind of duplicate it over.
Let's go.
So we just get a whole lot of just random shit. Following? Any questions? Cool. Get it all the way out.
I have a question.
Yes.
What made you choose the mapping? Did you do that at random?
The mappings, I just chose them at random. Really just to, kind of demonstrate how this would go down. I don't know. This is purely for just the sake of showing. Like, I don't know. It's kind of just to get the point across. So now we're going to consolidate all of this. And then from there we have that long ass, stretched ass file. Lots of fun noises, right? So now from this we can just cut off a little bit, and this will be the bit that we work with. And then from here we can come back out, we can loop it, so now whenever we drag this around, it'll go through the entire waveform. That's kind of cool. Oh, wait. Yeah, it sounds very normal. See, from here we can go in, add some effects to it. What I like to use personally to just get really weird, like kind of cool sound design and stuff, is I'll use grain delay or fucking frequency shifter too. Like these two in combo can change any sound. It's ridiculous. We'll turn the time down. Alright. Let's also just beat this up. OTT, by the way, it's the secret sauce. It basically turns anything and just makes it super fast. Just have to turn it up, maybe turn the time up. Okay, so we have a weird sound. That's a given. We can add some LFO tool or, whatever you want to use to add movement. Honestly, no, let's keep this all in Ableton. We're going to use AutoPan, which can kind of act as a LFO tool, a little pretty rudimentary one, but turn the phase all the way down, up. You got a nice little LFO going. And then from here, it's a lot of just messing around with shit. Maybe add some distortion to it. Also, if you have Ableton 10, you can access Max for Live, which has the best, in my opinion, audio effect in Ableton, which is its own LFO, which can be applied to any parameter, anywhere. So like say we can map this to the frequency of this. yeah, what I did back there is since the original audio file that we have, or the manipulated one, is so stretched out, if you just go in and make it shorter, you kind of get more manageable sounds from it instead of just like long soundscapes of just like. That's kind of cool. So yeah, you can just find like little bits and pieces, be like. Yeah, so there you go. You have like a little lead going. From there, you can even further bounce it down. So since we have all this shit going on the whole audio file, or on the whole track, we will go ahead and bounce it down to a new audio track. Okay. From there, we can continue to manipulate it. This is where the beats warping comes in handy, because if you have something that's like really quick and sporadic, you can use transient mode and this to kind of shorten the transients to make it a little tighter. Yeah, from there, we can just pretty much keep doing this. We can take this whole thing, move it down.
How'd you do that?
How did I do that? If you select all of these plugins, you can just copy and then paste it down.
Control A.
Control C or Control V. If you're Mac, it's Command C, maybe?
Shift.
Shift. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a PC boy. Sorry, guys. Oh, yeah. You can get really weird with it. You can transpose shit all the way up, all the way down, kind of go around. Then you can automate that. This is kind of cool. We can even further get this shit going. And it's a lot of just kind of messing around with stuff like, you know, when you copy the chain that you used before, you can keep manipulating it. You don't have to use the same chain. Fun trick to do is adding all the OTTs. It's also fun at this stage, like, I don't know, this is usually how I make most of my crazier sounds, is just throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, there's no bad ideas, you just kind of go with the flow. If you're like, hey, let's duplicate this OTT 5 times, fucking go for it. You can go back and make it sound better later. Sounds good enough. We can even like take this whole thing with grain delays, move it over. Nice and wide, and make this a little more mono, because grain delay adds a lot of phase cancellation, stereo width. It's usually not great for like mixing down, because generally, when you mix down stuff, you want it to be as mono as possible, so then you can add width later. But yeah. Got some cool shit going. I'll probably take that off. Distort a little bit. And the fun thing about OTT is that if you have a lot of them going on, any sort of like distortion you have beforehand will just make it ridiculous. Then we can do this. Bounce it down to another audio file. Back to master. Maybe cut even more. what happens, you know? We're just going with it. That's the key to a lot of sound design. It's just kind of going with it. Nope. You can add a phaser in there. Yeah, getting some crazy sounds. Does anybody have any questions on what I'm doing or anything? I don't know, this is more like, I don't know, I guess it's more a demonstration than anything, but I don't know. If anybody has any questions, feel free to speak up or anything. Yes. Define better what OTT does. So, OTT is a multi-band compressor that the way that it compresses the sound is it pushes or crushes the lows and highs and brings up the mid a little bit more. It really just kind of bounces out the sound in general. Because like you can have a sound that, you know, has a lot of high end information, a lot of low ends. This kind of just squishes it all into like one consistent sound like across the spectrum. So like say if we added
Yo, if you guys have questions, just like line up over there so you can get up on the mic so everyone can hear your questions. That would be sweet. I know you guys gotta move and shit, but
like say you can add, like say before OTT, if we add like erosion to something, like I mean the way the erosion works is that it'll, you know, distort the whole wave. But like say if we have a lot of erosion going on, we'll get a lot of high end information. So but with OTT applied, it kind of like flattens everything to like one consistent thing. I mean, it's not the best for everything. It's really great for like sound design and just kind of getting an idea out there. But yeah, no, it is what it is. Yeah, so there we have like kind of a cool little maybe fill, or maybe it could be a lead if you want to like stretch it out. From there, I don't know. What else can we do?
Kevin, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm over here. Hi.
Hi.
Can you talk about? I feel like a long time ago I saw a video where you used serum effects.
Oh yeah, that's another fun thing to do. Because if you have Serum, you can get Serum effects with it too. It's just all of the effects that Serum has to offer in one place. From there, you can, you know, use any of the Serum effects. You can even use their filters. So, like, say we can even get like screen filter in there. And the fun thing is, again, going back to Max for Live LFO, you can use this to apply to any parameter in Serum. So say we want to get this cut off, we can come back over here, map to frequency. Even go in here because there's multiple things that you can map from with one LFO figure to get this drive going. And you know, let's do screen too. And then you can control how much is going away. And turn this over to down. And it doesn't have to even be a screen filter. You can even do with, say, I don't know, what's a good filter we should use?
Reverb.
Cone, reverb, let's do it all. Cone. Whoops. Now. You know, I'm gonna come back over here, cut this low end out because it is a little too much.
Hey, Tyner,
Yeah.
can you make it into a drop?
Yeah.
You have 20 minutes.
Okay, let's make a drop out of this then. I feel like this could be a really good, like, starting, like, you know, the drop hits, it's like, it's kind of like a fake out drop. So we can find my trusty kicks and snares. Actually, no, let's go to my faves. Tiny faves. Kicks. Oh yeah, it's loading from my external hard drive, so it might take a second. Actually, let's do this. So kind of use that as a start. And we can even use that like last little bit as a kind of drop. And this. There will be the fill. We'll add in the snare. Where are you at, snare? Snare. Actually, no. I know exactly which snare we're going to use. So my friend, his name is Basley. He put out a sample pack that is, honest to God, one of the best sample packs I've ever come across. His snares in general, especially, are insanely good. Like, I use this snare almost all the time. And go in, make a fade. Where's that? There. Make a fade so it's a little tighter. Put that over. We will sidechain this to the kick and snare. Where are you at, compressor? It's up. There it is. Sidechain it. We'll have it as a ghost. So what I like to do with sidechaining is set up a ghost channel that kind of triggers the sidechain. Making it like super tight so it's just like one transient, and then you can use the parameters of the sidechain to get it to where you need it to be. So let's say for this. Also, I don't know, with like, since these are more or less going to be treated as two separate like components, I will usually copy this, remove this, and then kind of treat this as like the drop lead right here. So from there we can then we can add in the trusty hip hop sub to give some sub bass. We'll make the song. What key should we make the song? E. E flat minor. Oh, that's way too high for a sub. There it is. We'll take this side chain, move it over to the hip hop sub. trusty hi-hats. Maybe almost like a long, I don't know, I can kind of hear like a longer open hi-hat, maybe. So. See, this is the fun part about producing that people don't tell you about. That's good. You can move. Alright, we got something going, guys. So we come back in, maybe make a few tracks for risers. I'm lazy and just like to use samples for my risers. Let's say it's kind of cool. Alright, we got something going, guys. I'm gonna have to take this home and actually make this.
Thank you.
We need to add like a riser forward this. Add some builds. I have it somewhere. Yeah, build. Generic build. Move the kick over, make a build out of it. Oh no. Why are you doing this to me? Okay, there we go. Yeah. Oh shit, guys. Yeah, we gotta see guys. So see, all of this came from just messing around with Operator, getting something long and stretchy and good. Like, I don't know. It's crazy what you can do with just like the most basic, just like fucking around. Oh. You guys have any questions?
Is that sub just hip hop sub?
Drop it, lost lane.
Please.
Bug it.
Yes.
Is the sub just hip hop
Just
sub?
like there's
Yes.
literally nothing on that, right? It's literally
Yeah,
hip-hop sub.
the sub is just hip hop sub bass. It's a Operator preset. It's honestly like one of the better like better sub basses that you could use. I don't know. A lot of people like to just use samples or Serum, or they just like say if they're making something in Serum, they'll use the sub from that patch to be the sub bass. But I like to keep my sub basses separate so you have more like movement with it and you have more control over it. Question?
When talking sound design,
Mm.
how does frequency relate to key? Like, how do you stay in certain frequencies or key?
So I usually detach like any sort of key whenever I'm like dealing with sound design. So that way it kind of keeps it more open to just kind of do whatever you want. But trying to like assign a certain key to something, I don't know. I guess it just kind of goes with whatever feels right. Like, I mean, with this kind of super atonal sound, it can honestly be whatever key you want. Like, that's kind of the beauty of it. Like, say if it was F sharp. Or like D. But in terms of like actually having like melodic tone to it, it's kind of like whatever you want it to be, I guess. I don't know. I usually just
It essentially hasn't been assigned a key yet?
exactly. You can make it whatever key you want it to be.
There's also a really good plugin called Tuner in Ableton, stock plugin.
Oh, the
And it can actually detect the software.
so it can. So the okay, he was bringing up Tuner. It can usually pick up, but the way that Tuner works is that it finds like a certain frequency, like whatever frequency it can pick up. A lot of the times with like more complex sounds like this, it's not going to pick up anything. I guess another way, if you wanted to, you could open up Spectrum. Kind of freeze that shit. And kind of use it in association with EQ8 to kind of pinpoint like where you see peaks. So kind of use those together to kind of be like, it could be a flat. Again, it's with these super like atonal sounds. It's kind of like you can assign it. You can assign whatever key you want to it.
With the approach that you take with a lot of audio resampling and tossing on lots of effects, that's my go-to as well. But I find that after like playing around with it for a half hour, I've completely lost sight of what I even wanted to get out of it. And then the worst part is I remember like 10 minutes ago I had it sounding really good. I can't even get to that.
Yeah.
When you find yourself in that, like, what is your go-to like palette cleanser, so to speak, so that you don't completely abandon the project file out of frustration?
Well, I mean, first off, I usually abandon project files. At the drop of a hat. Like, I don't know. It's usually if you don't like how it's sounding, or if, like, you know, you're in that kind of sound design mode where you want to just kind of get the craziest thing you can. It's usually a matter of forcing yourself to just keep going with it. At least for me. Like, if it's not sounding the way I want it, like, continue messing around with parameters, maybe, I don't know, applying, like, a low-pass LFO to kind of give it some movement, like, kind of change directions, like, change gears and, like, try to get something fresh out of it. Like, say, if this sound was, like, too crazy, like, even adding just simple, like, LFO to it.
Okay.
Or like kind of adding it forward. Kind of, I don't know, just like kind of gives it a new perspective, so like you can kind of build off of that. I guess other things you could do are distorting the shit out of it.
Yes.
That always works. Bouncing it down, reversing it. I don't know. There's a lot of things you can do. It's all about kind of, I don't know, just trying not to stay locked in like one sort of like frame of mind where like, oh, I have to do this, or like, I don't know, I have to approach it this way. Like trying to approach a sound from different angles, you can usually get really fun and creative results. At least that's how I try to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah. You got a question?
Could you go into detail more about the ghost channel that you use for the sidechain?
Oh yeah, Ghost Channel. So I don't know, I found it's you kind of get more control over the sidechaining if you have just a channel that's muted, and you assign like something. It doesn't have to be a kick, and it can just be like a really sharp transient, and that will be what triggers the sidechaining. So let's say. And this way you have more control over like how you want the sidechain to come across. So say for the sub, you can open up the release to give it more like, add more attack to it. Kind of shape the sidechain how you want to shape it. I know there's other plugins that you can actually like go in and draw the sidechaining that you want, but this is just how I learned how to do it and how I like
It's
to
in the ghost channel. Is it changed differently? Like, is it used differently throughout the song? Just with the sidechain, I just feel like it can there and then whatever else.
Well, yeah. So like, say this will hit whenever you want it to. It could be on the kick and the snare. It can be anything. Usually, yeah, I'll have it hit like I'll have the transient hit on the kick and the snare. It also frees it up. So like, say if you want to add some more like kind of groovy snare and kick like inflections here and there, it won't mess with the sidechain. so you can like kind of have more fun with it. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
Hey there. This is less about sound design, more about workflow.
Mm.
Like one of the pitfalls I find myself in is I love writing. Like I like writing the song, but I've talked to a lot of like other producers and they have sound design days, they have writing days, and then they have days where they make edits and stuff. So like, what's like a typical week for you? Like, do you block that stuff out, or do you really just sit down and do whatever?
It usually varies. I try to at least start every day with making songs in mind, but if it's just not going well, I'll, maybe switch over to working on a set or like making edits. Honestly, it's just kind of however I'm feeling during the day or like on any given day. Like I'll have like some weeks where like every day it's just like idea after idea, and usually if I have a strong enough idea, like say for this one, like we kind of made this like section, like this main section of this song in like 20 minutes. So it's tend to work like pretty fast. So like if I have an idea for a song, I'll usually finish it like within a week or so. And at that point, it's usually like going into the studio in the morning and just continuing working on that one song until it's done, and I can just say yes, move on. Let's move on to the next thing. But yeah, I don't know. That's how I like to approach it, at least. I know it's different for everybody, but yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
I'm typically using my MIDI controller when I'm making the music. Do you ever use the effects from the MIDI controller that's internal to it and record it in Ableton?
I don't think
Is that
I
something
really
that can
have.
be done?
I usually just use my MIDI keyboard for like, just kind of playing out melodic ideas to kind of give some sort of like, melody to a song or something. I think the MIDI keyboard that I have is pretty basic. I know it works with Ableton, so like you have like, say this push, it has like buttons that you can like launch shit with, or like, knobs to kind of modulate stuff. Like with the macro that we made earlier, you can assign the macro to a knob and then like kind of play with it while you're playing around with the sound. But generally, I just use it for the keyboard itself.
Gotcha.
Cool. But I mean, I don't know. It works like everybody's different. Like everybody has like their own way of doing it. It's just, I don't know, how I like to do it. I like to think it's kind of out there, but I don't know, it works. Yeah.
Awesome, thanks.
Oh shit. Just realized that my computer is a touchscreen. I learn something new every day. Yeah, so any other questions? Anything else you got for me? If you could please use the microphone.
So when I make songs, I've noticed I have a lot of redlining, even if I feel like there's not too much going on.
Yeah.
So do you think that would, I know this is pretty general, you have to take a look at the actual song, but would you think like maybe it would be the sample quality or the EQing more?
I don't know. If something's redlining, usually just turning it down will be the best bet. And then from there, you can kind of approach it from like a cleaner signal to work with.
When you say turning down, you mean like the audio?
Yeah, just like the whole track. Like if something's redlining, you just be like, well.
Okay.
And if it's like the whole track, you can say in Ableton, you can go in and shift, select all the tracks and just turn it down like that. Or you can put a utility on the master and turn that down too. Just,
I've seen some videos of people putting limiters on the master. Is that acceptable?
Yeah. It's really good for like when you're in the songwriting process to just put a limiter on there, let it be, so you don't really worry about it like getting super clipped. The downside of that is that it'll also, if it's loud enough, it will distort the signal, so you might get like a false sense of what you're actually mixing down. It could be more distorted than it could be more distorted than you think it is. So like generally, if you're going that approach, it's best to just turn everything down. And then whenever you're like kind of going back and fixing mixed stuff, then turning it back on.
So his question kind of brought me on to another one. What exactly is gain staging and how is it used in the mixdown process? So like Ryle, Excision's manager, told me to keep like my kicks at 0 and like my snare at 0, and, like my sub like -2, and then like kind of work everything around there. But when you get down to like the actual mixdown, do you read those knobs and like kind of like put in the utility and use from there, or what works best?
I would say, I'd say that's a good rule of thumb, but I mean with most rule of thumbs, it's just there for like a good starting point. You know, when you get down to the mix down, it's usually like whatever works for the mix down, it'll work regardless. Like if it's honestly, if it sounds good, it sounds good. That's what it all boils down to.
And my original question was, do you use like a template at first? Like you have your own template like that you...
Oh yeah, no, honestly, like
everything's already laid out the way you like it.
Yeah, the way that this was made.
Oh yeah, it's just...
Like that was just, yeah, usually when I'm like, even, you know, just throwing shit around, I'll keep like it all very organized, so like I know where everything will be at like any certain, or like how I will approach mixing them down. Like I'll approach mixing down the whole drop, like having a side chain already set up to the ghost kick, having my kick and snare be totally separate from the other.
So that way you're not wasting time doing it later, sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, cool. Thanks, man.
Alright, cool.
Alright guys, that's the time we have. So we're gonna do feedback now. One time, make some noise for Tynan. Can you play that drop one time? Let's hear it. Alright, we got Bryce. We're gonna do feedback now. Make some noise for Bryce. You introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Bryce. How's it going?
What's your artist name?
License for Lasers.
Let's put it. Alright, so
License for lasers.
this is Bryce's tune called Crack. I need the jack beat.
There's a funny story. I'll tell you all about it when it's over.
You can tell it now.
I was actually in the Netherlands. Have you heard of Ignition Events out there? Yeah. I was with me and Ben Hamida and the Shivers, and we were just like fucking around, shooting shit at this festival, and I just like got it on video of them like rapping, and then I sampled it, and then put a bunch of like compression behind it, and like did a bunch of shit to it. But I made it yesterday, so it sounds like shit, but
We're ready.
and it's also a drum and bass drop.
Alright.
Make some noise for Bryce. That was a Babylon Ting. That was a Babylon Ting. It's a vague drum and bass term. It could be anything. You want to go first?
Yeah, So the two things that stood out to me was the vocals sound a little dry. Like it sounds like there could be some like sort of width or like some sort of processing there that could make it sound a little or fit a little better in the mix. The other thing is the lead sounds a little light. Like this is something that you kind of run in with if you're making those like super low like lead sounds that have like a lot of like low end information. It can get really muddy really quickly, which is honestly why I like to generally separate like the lead sound from just the sub, so like you can cut out all that low end information, still have like the low synth, but then have the sub do its own thing, so it comes out super clean.
It was quite the challenge because whenever I did the video, there was a whole festival going on in the background.
Yeah.
So there was nothing but bass and like random frequencies and all that shit. And I just like fucked around with it for like hours, and yeah, it was the best I could do.
No, it sounds great though. Like,
Yeah, that's cool. For like things like that where there's like hella noise in the background and shit. Are you on Ableton?
Yeah.
So like, have you ever used reduce ambience? So it's a multi-band preset, and pretty much what it's like a gate multi-band compression kind of combo, and like you can put it, you can use it for processing basses sometimes, but also just for like things that kind of sound like shit that you kind of want to just minimize the background stuff. Reduce ambience will work like a charm. Or like there's a Waves plugin called NS1, which you just kind of pull a knob up, and it's also just a gate noise reducer type thing. So. And another feedback thing was, I felt like if you added more effects during the build-up, it would have made that impact of the drop a little bit better. And just like cheat code, just like turn the gain down as the build-up is going, and then have it set right back to 0 at the drop, so you have that more impactful drop. Well, cool, make some noise for Bryce. All right, guys, talk amongst yourself. Up next, we have Nathan Loper from Warpath Group, my managers, and Kynan's and Liquid Stranger, and also their Ron Khan. So we're going to be talking about management, record labels, all that shit is going to be dope. So let's see.
and save.
Later in your set.
See what I can do.
I'll be chilling. I have a match, so I mean, you got the pad.